What's good, guys? Producer T Customs with tcustoms.com. I've been getting a lot of questions about time stretching, transposing your samples, getting the right tempo, and getting the sample to match up with whatever tempo your beat is. So I wanted to do some clarification in this video. I've already done a lot of videos on sampling, how to chop samples in Ableton Live. If you guys haven't seen that, this is not going to be a step-by-step video of how to chop samples. This is just going to be some more kind of filling in the gaps of some specific questions that you all had. First off, I really want to talk about transposing a sample versus time stretching. Some people seem to use these words interchangeably when in fact they're actually not the same thing. And so I want to explain the differences between transposing and time stretching, and then also get into how I figure out the BPM and tempo of my beat. Now, first off, I just want to say, this is my process. I'm not telling you how to chop a sample. I'm not telling you this is what you have to do. People were asking me, so that's why I'm putting this video together. So take what you will from it, but let's get into it. So transposing a sample. What is transposing a sample? When you hear me in a beat making video talking about pitching a sample, anytime I say pitching a sample, sometimes I use transpose, but a lot of times I'll just say I pitched the sample. That's what I'm talking about, is transposing the sample. I rarely time stretch. Time stretching I'll get into in a little bit, but the reason why I don't like time stretching is because it can leave, many times it leaves these audio artifacts, these mechanical, grainy sounding artifacts in your audio that I really don't like, especially when you do any kind of extensive time stretching. The only time you'll see me doing time stretching in my beat making videos typically is when I just have, say, one or two samples that I'm trying to get to match up with the rest of my sequence. And so you'll see me maybe export that into audio format and do some little manipulation through time stretching. But other than that, I rarely time stretch because I don't like the way that it alters the audio. So transposing is how I'm able to pitch my samples either up or down. For instance, if you take a sample and you transpose it up a half step, what you're doing is you are changing the key of that sample, and at the same time, you're increasing the speed and the tempo of that sample. What I want to do is play this little sample snippet through. This is a sample that I've used previously, and just notice that I'm actually going to be transposing this as I'm playing it through. And you'll see this audio is going to shorten because I'm increasing the tempo, and at the same time, you're going to hear the pitch shift up. All right, so I hope that makes sense as far as transposing. So now on to time stretching. Time stretching would be taking a piece of sample or audio and not increasing or decreasing the pitch, but just changing the tempo or speed of that sample. So to demonstrate what time stretching is, I'm gonna take this first section here and I'm actually going to play it at its normal speed and pitch, and then I'm gonna time stretch it and let you hear the difference. So now what I want to do is make that first section, I want to make it faster without actually changing the pitch of the sample. So within Ableton, I can enable the warp engine, and I can essentially time stretch this without changing the key. Okay, so I hope you hear the difference. Again, with the transposition, I'm actually changing the key of the sample. And with the time stretch, I'm not manipulating the pitch of the sample at all. If I do it the opposite way and actually slow it down, this is what it sounds like. Okay, and so that's probably a better example of what the little grainy artifacts that you hear, the audio artifacts that I was talking about, that I really don't particularly like when you're time stretching your sample. Now, if you're just doing minor time stretching, the artifacts really aren't going to make that big a difference, or they shouldn't. But when you do any kind of extensive time stretching, you might hear that little mechanical sound come through in the audio. So again, in virtually all the beat making videos that you'll see me pitching a sample, aka transposing it, where I'm increasing the pitch or key of the sample and the BPM or the tempo at the same time. So now I want to get into BPM and finding the right tempo of the sample that you're working with, right? So a lot of people ask me, when you put a sample in, like right now with this sample that I have, what's the BPM of this? What's the tempo? How do I figure out what's the tempo so I can set my DAW tempo up here and get it worked out? Well, I'll tell you right off, I don't worry about the tempo or BPM until I've already chopped the sample. until I've already started to manipulate the audio and figure out what kind of sequence I'm gonna come up with. So I don't even worry about the tempo until later on in the process. Right now you can see I have my DAW tempo set at 90 BPM, and this is just standard because a lot of the tracks that I work on are between, say, 80 BPM and 95 up to 100 BPM. So 90 is just kind of a good place to start for me. So every time I load up a new session, it starts at 90 BPM. As I start to progress the track along, I'll start to figure out what BPM I actually want for this particular track. So I've already chopped this sample up. If you guys, again, are looking for a how-to step-by-step of chopping a sample in Ableton Live, you guys can check out that tutorial. But I've already got this chopped up here. And so right off, I already know, based on the speed of this, that I want to pitch this up. I want to make this faster because I want my tempo to be faster with this beat. Right now, it's pretty slow as is, and so I want to speed this sample up. And the way I'm going to do that is by transposing. Now, I can tell you this is all kind of by experimentation, just kind of by your ear of what tempo feels right to you. So I'll just start playing around with some of these chops. Okay, so now I kind of have a little sequence going, and I kind of like the feel and tempo of this. Now is when I'll start to introduce and figure out what the tempo is of this. And again, because a lot of my tracks are prominently in the 85 to 95 BPM range, 90 is a good starting point for me. So I'll start with this, and then I'll just adjust from there. So it's a little too fast. So I'll try this out. So 87 BPM was a little too slow, so I took it up to 88, and it sounds pretty good right now with the tempo. So I hope that was helpful. Hopefully that offers a little bit insight for those of you who were asking about transposing your samples versus time stretching, getting the right BPM. Again, just keep in mind, this is my process. There are different ways to approach these kind of beats. There are more than one ways to skin a cat, so to speak. So this is my process. Take from it what you will. Hopefully this can at least offer you some insight. If you have any more specific questions, please let me know in the comments below. If there's anything you want me to elaborate on, please like, comment, share, subscribe if this video was helpful. And if you need more one-on-one hands-on music production coaching from Ableton Live to sampling specific questions, you can click the link below and reserve your one-on-one music production coaching time. I will see you there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Now, we can discuss things like Ableton Live strategies and tips, anything specifically you need help with in Ableton Live, general production techniques. So if you need, so maybe something I've covered in one of my videos, or something that you need more in-depth help on as far as your music production is concerned, a little tip or strategy, we can cover that. We can talk about anything from mixing and mastering. I've had a lot of questions over the years about mixing a beat, mixing a hip-hop beat, sampling, how to chop samples and how to get your samples to work together, mixing drums.